Welcome to Conscious Business Talks. We are almost at New Year's Eve. Can you believe it? I don't even know. In lockdowns and pandemic, how could this year go so fast? I don't know, but I don't know about you, but for me, it seems to really have flown. I am so glad to be here with you, wrapping up this year so close to New Year's Eve, and having shared most of this year with you on these shows, on these talks, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, bouncing back, feedback, and figuring out together what are some of the things that really work for us as human beings, as entrepreneurs, and most of all, as conscious business owners. Larissa, Matt, it is fabulous to have you here. Hello. Awesome. That's always all I could think. That sound is good. Larissa, my love, so glad to have you here with me. I can't tell you what a thrill it is for me to have you here with me. You guys who have such incredible thoughts and such immense value to share with the ideas that you exchange here on this show. And to wrap up the year with you, it's like a celebration all its own. But and today, by the way, if you, my friend, are catching this on the replay, then I wanted to just say I am honored to have shared the bulk of this year with you. So thank you for catching it live. Thank you for catching it on the replay. It is an awesome pleasure to share this place with you. Today, I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind, Larissa. Thank you. You make my heart happy. Mwah. Thank you. um, it seems to me that so much of our time these days seems to be on things that are outside of us. You know, if it's not divisions that we are witnessing, or fears that are caused by whether it is a virus, by politics, by people who may, be acting in a way that what you think is right or not. It seems to be so much of our focus is on something outside. And this little itty bitty virus is a great example that this enemy, quote unquote enemy, that we cannot see has become so terrifying and so threatening to us. And it's divided families, it's caused divisions amongst friends, there is heated discussions going all over the place, and yet this itty bitty little thing just keeps going on, which made me think life always finds a way. And things that sometimes we perceive as enemies are not necessarily quite the enemy that we think, and is the enemy, no matter whether it's a person or an invisible being like a virus or a bacteria or whatever, like a bacterium or whatever it is that we are thinking may be causing harm to us. And I'm not by any means slighting that we are concerned about people's health. We are witnessing people getting ill. But regardless of this pandemic, we witness people getting ill from different things. There are so many diseases and so many things that often befall us. But whenever we are focused on something as causing harm to us, or being the threat, or being this ginormous enemy outside of us. Tell me if this resonates with you. I feel that we lose sight of the bigger threat, so to speak, to us, which comes from within. Because that's the place where our belief in ourselves, our belief in our own worth, our certainty in our existence and our way of being, our confidence in us, our potential, the beauty and creativity, the magnitude, the magnificence of our soul, the core of us. our frailties, our strengths, our weaknesses, and the threat to all of that when we lose connection with that. That to me seems to be the bigger, so to speak, enemy, the threat to us as human beings living our existence on this plane, this life that is given to us as this gift to explore, develop, and witness what it reveals to us, what we develop it to, the, as I like to say, the level of the game that we play in this life. To me, the enemy within, so, and it's hard for me to think of it as an enemy. For me, it's more of a disconnect, a more of a losing sight of what's within. And whenever we focus on something external, whether it's a virus or a microorganism of any kind that we think is threatening to us, and we have to wipe out, because again, nature has balance, life has balance, if we but tap into it. Do we live without all of these microorganisms at any time? No, we don't. So to think of one or many people or many life forms as the threat that's going to do something to the extent where we lose focus of what's within, of what gifts we bring, to lose sight of the connection we have with each other as human beings, to lose focus on the magnificence, the greatness that is ours to have as human beings. I think it's a distraction. I think it's a distraction from our own greatness. And I think it's also losing focus of life and its desire, and not just desire, its commitment to being, right? The adaptation of this virus or any microorganism for that matter is proof of that. It changes to live. And as long as we keep thinking that we exist in a vacuum, away from our own internal core, our own soul, our own inner connection, our own our own truth, then we do see enemies everywhere. It could be somebody who doesn't agree with us. It could be somebody who has slighted us, harmed us, or anything like that. But when we change the lens through which we're looking at life, then a lot of the things that are seeming as threats change form also. And often, at least in my experience, I find that what seemed like a threat isn't really the threat I thought it was. Sometimes it even becomes an ally. Sometimes it stops mattering to me as to what I was so focused on, and instead I grasp I grasp more fully something that elevates the experience I'm having, not just for myself, but for others around me. Tell me if this resonates with you. My desire, my wish, and my prayer as we wrap up this year, that we stop thinking of life as something external, that we stop being these participants on the periphery of it, and instead we start participating in it fully from in it, all in, living life and respecting and existing in a harmonious way of all life that exists around us, including humans that we disagree with, including humans who may believe differently than us, including life forms, including creation of all kinds that exists around us. And maybe, just maybe, this is my prayer, this is my wish, this is my hope, that the life we experience then is so rich and so abundant in connection and harmony that it it just lets this world be everything it was always meant to be and is when we clear the distractions from it. I want to show up in my business that way. I want to show up in my life that way, surrounded by human beings who are so amazing that they see what life in all its different forms can add to our experience, as opposed to always having to fight for our perceived survival. And by no means am I saying that we don't end up surviving in certain circumstances, but life always finds a way to thrive, no matter what. I'm going to go to comments because I know this is a little bit of a different topic, but the closer we get to the new year, I just cannot seem to take in this experience of fearing life in any form. And when I know that nature usually finds a harmony, is there a balance in it? For sure. But we have to clear the obstruction, first of all, from our own lenses, from our own mind, and from our own connection with the truth. That would be truth with a capital T. So I'm going to take a look to the comments to see what you're thinking. Larissa says, I've experienced COVID at the beginning of 2020, just before the pandemic being announced. It is not so scary. You know, I myself, before everybody even started saying the word COVID, I'm pretty sure I had it. And I also know of family members who have gone to the hospital. I've known of friends who have lost loved ones to being ill with COVID. But I also have lost family members to a bunch of other things, including cancer, some very, very close relatives of mine. And I know that as tragic as loss is, and as much as it scares us, there's a bigger acceptance of life is calling to us with. And maybe a better way to live without letting fear color us into thinking that we are these beings that would not exist without sterilizing everything around us, and without trying to wipe out everything that could possibly be a perceived threat around us. Invariably, when life finds a way, when we do that, I know that in hospitals, for example, when we sterilize everything, and I'm again not I'm not putting down sterilization. What I'm saying is sterilization with an understanding of we may be creating superbugs when everybody is pouring things that sterilize and kill everything that is good or bad around us. And a lot of the good ones, how would we live without? If I were to examine my own body right now, I have more microorganisms in me than I have human cells. So if that's the case, what am I exactly trying to wipe out? And how do I then deal with life when it has such a faster adaptation and evolution cycle than my own? So why not find a way to boost our own system, which I think is created pretty wonderfully, and find a way to live in more harmony instead of in more fear. Now, I fully understand that this may be controversial and somebody might get offended hearing me say this. But I do believe that our bodies are designed to deal with a lot of things. And sometimes understanding how we exist and how we exist within nature brings us to a better experience of life than otherwise. So it's a thought. Yeah, I agree. Fear is counterintuitively, unfortunately, when we live in fear, we can't think clearly, and our own bodies don't work quite as well. Our immune systems definitely don't work quite as well. And fear also disconnects us from what is truly there. So for me, yeah, fear is not a state I would, as soon as awareness hits, it's not a state I want to live fully in, or most of the time in. Certainly fear, you need to have fear in times when there is actual survival at risk. I need the right chemicals to flood my system so I can boot it out of there, and if a lion is about to eat me, yeah, I want to be able to run fast. But living in fear on a I the word that's coming up for me, so I'll share it, in a chronic fashion where it isn't a short-term burst of energy required to get us out of the threat. If we are living in that state for a prolonged area of time, we're not even designed for that. Our bodies are not designed to handle that. So no, fear is not, it won't, I don't believe it's likely to serve us. Andy's asking for a quick recap, Zishan. Okay, so Andy, we were talking about the enemy without. So, and the enemy, although I hesitate to use the word enemy, it's more of a disconnect really, but the threat to us more inside. The enemy rarely is on the outside, even when we are facing the threats around us, unless somebody is imminently going to eat you. And it's immediate. That's rare in our current existence. But generally speaking, when we are afraid of people, when we are afraid of certain factors in society, when we are afraid of microorganisms or anything outside of us, on the basis where it seems to be a matter of survival, us against them, right? In order for us to exist, we must wipe them out. Then it becomes a very disconnected, fearful, out of harmony state, which does not really serve us, not on a short term, not on a long term. Certainly not in terms of serving us as a species as we evolve. So I was talking about that whenever we are so focused on the enemies without, we often lose sight of the bigger capital T truth within us that allows us to see the situation in a different way, perhaps in a clearer, more connected, harmonious way that allows us to find solutions that we didn't think when we were so much in the fog of division, disconnection, and fear. So I hope that helped shed some light on it. Oh, why, thank you. I appreciate that, Andy. Well, that's Rahman. I cannot take the credit for it. Only for paying for them. And I have to also acknowledge, I wear certain things when I'm thinking of someone really dear to me, and that person is away from me. I sometimes wear things that make me feel like they're with me right now. I think you'll know who I'm talking about, Zishan, but this is a shirt in your honor. I'm wearing it because I was thinking of you. Oh, I love what you just wrote here. So many things to fear, and so few of them lead to dreams. None of them, in my experience, lead to dreams. Because in order to dream, you have to be in that space where you have the space to breathe, to create, to dream. When we are in that laden, weighty, disconnected state, because really, true fear, if you are fearing your survival, it's a short-term burst of all things in your physiology that are going to give you the means to run out of threat, right? There isn't much, if you don't live, there isn't much need for thought. So there isn't much clear thinking going on. The initial thing is get out of that situation where imminent death is going to occur. So no, there isn't any higher functions that are involved very much in that, right? So in order for us to dream, we do need, even in the midst of chaos, we do need this space where we're not so weighed down and in a state of panic and in a state of disconnection that we cannot aspire to what we would really like to have. And even if we do dare to dream in the middle of chaos and threat, we can't really map our way of getting to that dream because everything seems so hard, so threatening, so outside of us. And in my experience, the path to that dream, to that North Star, really starts from within us. This thing that tells us this is where I am, but that's where I really want to be. And what's the next step I want to take towards it, with clear thinking, clear certainty of where I want to be, and the honesty and the courage to embrace where I am right now. And then take the next step and the next step and the next step. And Larissa says, our immune system is given to us by the Creator. How can it be so weak? We need to support the immune system differently from what their reaction now to what seems to be not so hurtful virus. And you are testament to that, aren't you, love? Because I don't know if everybody here knows of Larissa's story, and her journey from being like from having cancer to not having cancer, without a surgery, without anything but an acceptance and a nurturing of this body that she has, and surrounding it all with a belief and love that what is here just needs nurturing, support, and love. And to step out of that with confidence that no matter what comes, it will be okay. No matter what it is, it will be okay. And I love that because it just pointed to me a different way of looking at things. Like the word cancer in itself inspires fear in people. I know, because imagine getting a phone call from somebody you love and they're telling you that they've just been given the news that they have cancer. Right off the bat, there's this big scary word. It stops thinking because it's like a death sentence. Even if it isn't, it's a death sentence in that moment because it's a huge threat. And I was just I loved hearing how someone could take something that was so alarming, so threatening, to one's survival, this news, and instead shifting the perspective of it from not fear, instead acceptance. And what is this body I've been given? What can I do with it? What can I do to accept, support, love, and nurture? Incredible. And yet so human. I just love it. So thank you. Thank you so much. It's from surviving to thriving in 2022 and beyond. The life force is uniting. Everyone now can start to see and feel. And I think that is the cool thing, isn't it? Because I think it was my brain is now going to, I think it's Gary Zukov, who was talking about the awareness that we as human beings are witnessing more and more. And I think that's the evolution in the consciousness of human beings. So we are more aware of the consequences of our actions, the consequences of distancing and living with beliefs and thoughts that are not serving us as humanity, and also the courage and the growth in us to challenge long held views that, we held as so sacred, but in the end are not serving us. So it's time to take a look at them to see, how can we do better? How can we do better? And instead of bashing our heads against walls, maybe taking a deep breath, stepping back, looking at it a little differently and saying, I never noticed that door that's over there. Because there is often a door we haven't seen when we're so busy just just throwing ourselves against this wall that will not give or gives very little. And yet we forget that there is an easier path through it, which we don't see until we shift our perspective. There is so many thoughts these days about what is happening, what is not happening. And I have committed to being okay with ideas and what people are coming up with that is different than my own thoughts, because for me, respecting somebody's right to believe something different from mine, it has to be there, because I'm sure that as human beings, what we are deciding, there are reasons why we're deciding that. And I'm not talking about political machinations or manipulations or sometimes, the tendency of us as human beings in our innocence thinking that we can manipulate out of concern for power and collection of more wealth, certain forces that we set in place. Because again, in the bigger scheme of things, I don't see to what end. I get juiced on helping somebody achieve their dream. I get energized when I literally can see how somebody who's here and thought they could never get here or have a really long time getting here, but making that journey a little bit easier, smoother, and faster so they can get to where they want to be faster, so they can help somebody else get to their dream faster. Like the ripple effects, oh my God. I cannot even think of a better better high than that. But that's the kind of stuff that really energizes me. And when I see what human beings look like when they get to their next level and then their next level and then their next level, and how their potential just continues to grow and evolve, oh my Lord, to me, that's what life is about. It isn't about sitting on a mountain of something that I thought was so important, but when I go on, I can't even take it with me. Like, seriously? But what I leave behind, oh, now that's a different thing. What did I leave that continues on way long after I'm gone? How cool is that? Anyway, that's my thing. I don't believe that mere survival is enough. Survival is only a goal that is put upon us, not one that we move towards. Oh, yes. See, survival, it's so short term. And it doesn't, I don't believe that dreams and aspirations are built like for us to only survive, right? When you think about just looking outside, even right now, I'm in Ottawa, I'm in Canada, and there's snow outside. But on a day where it's a little bit mild, you can even just see life just find a way. And in the spring, the buds that come on the trees, a little flower that blooms, there is no surviving anything. I don't even think it survives the winter, because the life that bursts through, there is thriving all through it. It inspires me to see there's a tree outside my window. And every spring when I look at it, those buds, they're like on fire. They're just growing and growing and growing so fast, and I'm just like, holy, you were like barely there yesterday, and look at you today and the day after, and pretty soon there's leaves and buds and flowers and all kinds of things, and it's in a matter of days. How cool is that? So when we are surrounded by miracles of life, it's hard to kind of deny that we aren't just built for survival. Survival is, to me, it's a need of the moment. It's not something you build a life with. Like, you may survive in the moment, but then what about tomorrow and the day after? and and it's always been with the weaker immune system, and there's immune systems. I think we have awesome bodies that we've been given. We just have to figure out and connect with how they work better when we support them, right? And it's not to say that there aren't going to be things that don't affect us well. Are there illnesses? Are there different things that happen? 100%. But by the same token, the little shrub outside adapts to all seasons. And sometimes it doesn't, but life still goes on. I don't see them living in fear. I don't know. To me, there's a better way of being. Definitely important to take COVID seriously for the amount of hospitalizations it causes an effect on the at-risk amongst us, even if we personally are able to get through it, no problem. Not slighting anybody getting ill. Absolutely not. And in terms of hospitalizations, I think what we are just talking about, nurturing our bodies, giving ourselves the best ways to deal with anything that our system takes in. Because this virus is not an isolated virus that we have ever taken in. And regardless of all kinds of things on either side of it, my point isn't about any one particular virus. My point is about anything that we perceive as a threat outside of us. And I think you will agree that science has supported whenever we try to wipe all life that we cannot see around us, it just finds a new form. It just finds a different way. So at what point do we stop fighting the fight that we know does not work and instead look at it differently to kind of think, what else? What are we missing? Because as Einstein said, what is the definition of insanity? At what point do we stop looking at things that perhaps have a better way of working, but we are not seeing them because we continue to look at them in the same old way? And finding enemies outside of us all the time, life can be very threatening. And it's hard to build trust when we are always perceiving threats from outside. I think that's the point. Definitely not slighting anything. I think the biggest thing is the abnormality in thought. When we create divisions, and again, I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say that whenever human beings are divided, they're usually other things we're missing. And when we start to take a step back, distance ourselves from what seems to be so real in the moment, usually we find things that serve us better, all humans, all creation for that matter. Because I don't think that we are on this earth just to look after ourselves. When we do that, like as a business owner, I can tell you, I can either look after only my interest, only my need. Everybody else is either here to take from me or to do something to me. I can certainly see that. And when I think of anything like that, then to me, I am that island. Even my team, my employees, my suppliers, people I do business with, even my clients become perceived quote unquote threats, right? Because somebody's always taking from me. The people who are working for me might be stealing time from me, right? And they're just out there to make it about themselves. And yet, that's not even an environment I could possibly thrive in. Instead, when I think of it as a harmonious, connected system of human beings exchanging value with each other, then my team is my family. Then my team is part of my mission. Then my team is part of my movement. So are my clients. So are my suppliers. So is anybody who does any exchange with my organization. And not just those people. People who are touching those people become part of that ecosystem. So what I hope to share through this show and this exchange right now is that there is always a way to look at life without trust and with only our interests being in focus. But it's not a system that is sustainable in the long term, even if it looks like in the short term that we are profiting amazingly. Whenever even long-standing companies have lost sight of that, they don't tend to continue. We have seen that not even that long ago. Giants like Kodak. Take a look at the history of Kodak, what they started with, what their mission was, what caused them to become a household name. And then also take a look to see where the disconnect began and how it affected them. I'm sure that you can think of so many names, so many ginormous names that don't exist anymore today. Because as human beings, we know. We know when we feel connected. We know when we feel part of something. We also know when we feel disconnected and at threat. If you look outside your window and you notice that the experience you're in is not what you want it to be, then as Larissa actually was saying, take a look at the reality you're creating by how you are looking at things. And I think that is a huge truth, right? It's not about whether somebody, like, again, this is nothing to do with what the state is because of the pandemic, because of a virus, people hurt, lost, anything. This is none of that, no slighting of anything. If anything, it's about connecting to that and saying, I understand loss, I understand threat, but I also understand there is a greater experience to be had when the need of the time seems to be that we take a look to see what can be done differently. Is this the best way? Is this the only way? Is there really a better way? And let's look at that. And the answers that you come up with are your own. It's just the lens that I'm asking you to look at and the space that I'm asking you to create, especially in time for the new year. And hey, Few, how lovely to have you, love. I'm so glad to be here on so close to the new year with you. Oh, we have the Southern Star where we dare to dream. Okay, now I not want to know even more about that. That is why life is so beautiful, because we have different opinions, understanding, and views. 100%. And yes, thank you. You are all so important to me, because it is with such diverse thoughts and opinions and ideas that as humanity we tend to grow. And as I love to say, the chance, the opportunity for us to just elevate the level of the game that we're playing, because in that is just such a feeling of lightheartedness and fun and creativity and creation that no matter what the immediate thing is around me, that's what I have to think of to be able to just change my experience in a moment. And I thank you so much for being here with me to help spread these ideas and these thoughts. Share them with somebody that you know perhaps needs that moment to look at things a little differently, and maybe, just maybe, change the experience they're having. That's the goal that I have in mind for us, to begin this new year with more hope and a different perspective than perhaps what we've been bringing to this. Thank you for being here with me. I wish you a wonderful new year. I'm going to drop the link for something fun on Monday, so do me a favor, come by and check it out. I think everybody is going to have some fun with that. I'm doing a little self-care thing, and I thought it would be so fun to do it together. So anyway, I will see you in the new year. Lots of love to you, and thank you for being here with me tonight.